This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Tonight on The South Today, Otago Daily Times readers see themselves in photographs from over 50 years ago. A young man competes in the old art of ploughing. And a new walkway in Wanaka gets an environmental tick of approval. Tēnā koutou katoa, ngā mihi o te ahiahi nei, kia ora, I'm Simon Anderson. In 1964, the Beatles rocked Dunedin's Town Hall and the Otago Daily Times was there to photograph the event. On Saturday, the newspaper published a set of photographs that had never been seen before, with some readers being able to spot themselves in the audience of 57 years ago.
The 26th of June 1964 saw Dunedin's Town Hall filled with screaming teenagers while their heroes, the Beatles, played on stage. It was the one and only time the Fab Four toured New Zealand, and the Otago Daily Times recently discovered never-before-seen photographs of the event. 71-year-old Gladys Hope had no trouble spotting her 13-year-old self in one of the photos published in Saturday's newspaper.
You know, people started going up the front. So, because as short as I am, I wasn't going to get left at the back where I couldn't, I was going to stand up in front of me and not be able to see. So I went down the front as well. And that's where I was surprised the other day when it was in the paper. I almost knew exactly where to look. And I found myself quite easily.
A number of the older members of the audience reported afterwards not being able to hear the music over the screaming. But Hope doesn't remember it that way.
The sound system was very, very good. They've done it many times before and know that the girls are going to scream, and there was obviously far more girls there than boys.
While the music reviewer for the Otago Daily Times described the Beatles as pleasant young men without a great deal of musical talent, Hope recalls that differently as well.
Oh, it was fabulous. And I am a singer, so, they were very good. The harmonies and everything were really good. No, I thoroughly enjoyed it,
Dunedin is still visited by big music acts today, but Hope suggests the Forsyth Bar Stadium isn't the same sort of venue as the Town Hall was back in the 1960s.
Those young teenagers don't get the sort of things that we got, and I actually feel sorry for them because, we got so much pleasure out of those shows at the Town Hall. I mean, I went to many, many shows there, and I don't think we ever had a dud. One of my favourites was Gene Pitney, and he came to town a few times.
Other famous acts performing in Dunedin included the Rolling Stones, who performed 2 shows the year after the Beatles visited. In Dunedin, The South Today.
Upgrades to Dunedin's main shopping street could feature electronic signage with zones changing their use in different parts of the day. Dunedin City Councillors were presented with a detailed business case last month when they chose to support making George Street one-way by 2024. The electronic signs would enable parking areas to act as loading zones early in the morning and in the evening accommodate alfresco dining. Automatic retractable bollards, some blocks to be easily closed off for events or change the vibe on Sundays or for late night shopping. Initial work connected to the Main Street upgrade is set to start in surrounding streets later this month. This year's Tairi ploughing match attracted a young novice of only 21 years of age. Thomas Syme says he did feel a bit of extra pressure, with his father being one of the judges and his grandfather being a steward.
21-year-old Thomas Syme was put through his paces when he competed in the novice category of the annual Tairi ploughing match near Middlemarch recently. Syme was using a 50-year-old tractor he found in a dilapidated state near Riversdale about 3 years ago.
It's a 1969 Ford 2000 that I picked up from a friend of Dad's, and yeah, she was a bit not looking that good when we got her, and yeah, tied it up, gave her a bit of love.
About a dozen ploughmen entered the competition, with the furthest coming from Canterbury. But the event was a family affair for Syme, with his father being one of the judges, his mother looking after the competition records, and his grandfather acting as a steward.
Yeah, oh well, see, not too bad, just a bit of weight on the shoulders there, but oh well, we'll turn up for the day, that's the main thing.
Being the only novice entrant, Syme became the winner of his category and was happy with what he'd achieved.
Looks not too bad, yeah, pretty good for a novice.
Near Middlemarch, the South Today.
Firefighters are used to saving cats stuck up trees, but yesterday a Dunedin brigade was tasked with rescuing a paradise duck stuck in some branches. The bird had a lucky escape after its leg became wedged between two branches of a tree near Sawyers Bay. The Port Chalmers Volunteer Fire Brigade attended the scene with a large ladder appliance. The duck had been hanging by its leg for quite some time, and while it appeared distressed from the ordeal, it calmed down once it was lifted from where it had been hanging. A member of the public took the bird to the vet in a cat basket. Around 300 people turned up for the official opening of a new pathway alongside Lake Wanaka yesterday. Among those present were bird lovers who said they were impressed with the care taken by contractors to avoid disturbing the native grebes nesting along the shoreline.
Barry and I, great pleasure to declare Stage 3 of the walkway open.
Wanaka's Lakeside Boardwalk is finally open. This almost $4 million stage of Wanaka's lakeside development saw main contractor Blakely Construction being careful to avoid sawdust from falling into the lake. Local teacher Marcus Herman says consideration was also shown to the native crested grebes that nest on the water around this part of the lake.
We were a bit worried that it affects the grebes, but overall we are quite happy with how it went. And Dan and his whole team, they were very considerate of the grebes and us.
Retired zoologist John Darby is also full of praise for the care shown by the Christchurch-based contractors during the 10-month project.
Well, I think the fact that we've got 18 pairs out there at the moment is pretty indicative of how well they've been looked after by the contractors.
Further lakeside improvements are set to include upgrading and updating the Millennium Pathway tiles and nearby car parks. In Wanaka, the South Today.
Still to come on the South Today, Jules Radich launches a team to reset Dunedin Council priorities, and we speak to a Dunedin-based researcher on medicinal cannabis use. Ka kite akua nei.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life. Tuesdays, 7:30.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
Nā mai anō, welcome back. Dunedin City Councillor Jules Radich is calling for people to join him on a push to reset council priorities. Seen here in file footage, the 66-year-old mayoralty candidate is riled by the council backing the proposal to turn George Street into a one-way main street. Radich says what is best for the city has sometimes been lost, while the needs of the particular interest groups hold sway. The launch of what he calls Team Dunedin comes a year out from the next local body elections. City councillors Carmen Houlihan and Andrew Wiley have already joined his campaign ticket, with Councillor Radich as coordinating. Councillor Houlihan also intends to stand for mayor. On October, the first 18-month trial of medicinal cannabis products came to an end. Dunedin-based researcher Jeff Nola has studied cannabis for many years and believes the government set the bar too high for therapeutic product producers to meet.
At the start of October, a New Zealand-wide trial into a selection of medicinal cannabis products came to an end. University of Otago researcher Dr. Jeff Nola has been studying the effects of cannabis for many years and believes the potential of a medicinal cannabis product industry has been snuffed out prematurely.
The government said, I think it was supposed to be 1st of April this year. They said, right, well, that was when companies who were wanting to produce cannabis, medical cannabis products, should have achieved the ability to reach those standards and then have their products accepted in that regard. It became evident that that was not being achieved because of the restrictions and the difficulty of the standards. So they then said, right, we're going to push this back to the end of September. It'll give you guys another 6 months to develop your products and get them up to that standard. And we've got to that time now, and there's basically hardly any products at all, I think, if any, that have reached that standard. And so the government, the Ministry of Health has said, right, well, we've given you the extension, that's as far as it goes. And so products that are not at that standard now have to be withdrawn from circulation.
The standards include a good manufacturing practice, or GMP scale, which he says is problematic, as Kiwi manufacturers would have to send products offshore to be accredited.
And there's no GMP manufacturing facilities available in New Zealand. So if you want to produce a cannabis product and get it certified as acceptable according to the Ministry of Health standards, you've actually got to go offshore to do that. And the cost of doing this is really quite exceptional. It's a very high cost. I have spoken with some companies that are looking at doing this. In fact, have contacted, for example, I believe in Eastern Europe, there's a GMP certified lab in one of the countries over there. I don't think it's the Ukraine. It might be one of the other ones. And that's producing products that are reaching the European standard of GMP manufacturing. The New Zealand government doesn't recognise it. They're not on the list of people that we allow to do GMP manufacturing.
Jeff Nola has studied cannabis and other substances for many years and is widely regarded as an expert in the field. He believes the government may have set producers up to fail.
And I know from people in the industry that they found the Ministry of Health incredibly difficult to deal with. They really are making it very difficult for people who are manufacturers in New Zealand to produce products that are then acceptable for this regime. And so that's the industry is dealing with that. And there's been several products that were non-approved products. In other words, they haven't gone through those trials, but they were accepted by the ministry in the interim as available. And so patients have been using those products, those products actually have been less expensive than Sativex, but they're still costing several $100s a month, for example. Now there's 2 or 3 of those products, and those have all now. They are now not able to be used by people who are using or wanting to use medicinal cannabis products. So you've got that problem there.
Jeff Nola says to have cannabis products used in a pharmaceutical way, they need to pass rigorous tests to test their medicinal effectiveness.
The data out there isn't that strong for a lot of the conditions, and there are complicated reasons for that, including the fact that some of the medicinal cannabis products contain THC, so you get high. and heaven forbid anybody gets high. We can't do that. And that makes the medical regulators in particular very anxious. And I think also the argument put forward probably by medical people whose opinions will have been sought by the Ministry of Health is, well, if you're going to call cannabis a medicine, it has to be held to the same standard as pharmaceutical products. Now, to get a pharmaceutical product approved typically takes years and literally costs tens of millions of dollars. That's the system, okay? And a medicinal cannabis-based herbal product is not set up to deal with that kind of investment. This is why the few products that are available, such as Sativex, which comes out of a UK-based company called GW Pharmaceuticals, those guys have spent gazillions getting it into the marketplace, and so that's why it's approved and that's why they can use it.
In 2020, the nation voted in a referendum on the proposed Cannabis Legislation and Control Bill, with 50.7% of respondents voting down the proposed law change. That came ahead of the 18-month trial of some medicinal cannabis products. In Dunedin, The South Today.
After the break on The South Today, the Dunedin Marathon is cancelled for a second year straight, and we check out the midweek's weather. Hea koko ake nei.
All new episodes of Put Some Colour in Your Life are now screening on Channel 39. Take a look at Australian artists and the techniques they use in their studio. Put Some Colour in Your Life, Tuesdays, 7:30.
If you're at risk of developing melanoma skin cancer, you owe it to yourself to have a mole map. Mole map is coming to your area. Phone today to make an appointment. It could save your life.
Every reason, every season, we're proud to dress the region. Alex Campbell Menswear, it fits.
MTF Finance can help you turn the key on your next vehicle with a loan made just for you. TCs and lending criteria apply.
A poorly maintained heat pump can lose up to 35% of its output. The Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner team are experts. Their specially developed chemical wash is totally biodegradable. Call Mr. Heat Pump Cleaner and get the job done by the professionals.
What have you got? Okay. Chicks World, party time, excellent. Love it. Chicks World. Chicks World.
Nā mai nō, welcome back. The Dunedin Marathon has been cancelled for a second year running due to COVID-19 restrictions. Organisers say they cancelled the Emerson's Dunedin Marathon with deep regret. They say the safety of participants, volunteers and supporters was paramount, and the organising committee had worked tirelessly through every scenario. All entries from this year will automatically roll over to next year's event. A 75% refund is also available. And now recapping tonight's top stories on The South Today. Otago Daily Times readers saw themselves in photographs from over 50 years ago. A young man has competed in the old art of ploughing. And a new walkway in Wanaka has received an environmental tick of approval. And now for a look at what's happening in tomorrow's ODT, we welcome Craig Page. Kia ora, Craig.
Evening, Simon. We've got a story about, I guess, one of the most high-profile missing persons case in our patch. Amber Lee Cruikshank, of course, 2-year-old who went missing from a property in Kingston on the shore of Lake Wakatipu 29 years ago this weekend coming. So we're back there talking to Mum, her mother Nicola, about the time that police also announced a $100,000 reward in April this year. And that reward's due to expire tomorrow. So we've also talked to police about what information has come forward as a result of that. They received about 75 phone calls apparently over that time, but they're a bit reluctant to say too much about what that information has led to. But we've had to catch up with Nicola about it as well, and just, I guess, the last 29 years, how difficult it's been for her, and just the hope that they can get some resolution at some stage for that case. We've also been up through Central Otago, sent out our main man, Peter McIntosh, photographer today, taking some lovely photos of snow that fell through Central Otago. A bit late for the ski fields in Queenstown and Wanaka, but a brisk reminder, I guess, that summer is still a wee way away down here. Also we're expecting some more of that tomorrow as well, so keep the thermals handy if you're living up that way. Fresh pages with daylight saving here. We're talking about firing up the barbecue, or at least giving it a clean and making sure the gas bottle's full anyway. So Annabelle Langbein shares some of her favourite barbecue recipes. And to be fair, they don't look much like the overcooked steak and sausages that come off my barbecue. They look pretty flashed. There's a Malay satay barbecue butterfly chicken as one of the features. So yeah, a bit of work goes into that, I think. So. And we also get a rundown on how to create the perfect cheese platter. So when you're sitting back having your glass of Pinot, Simon, that would be something to have on the table beside you. We've got more on the cancellation, of course, of the Dunedin Marathon, which, a bit of a blow for a lot of people who put a lot of time into that. We've also, there's some changes to the NPC rugby as well, of course, with COVID. They've had to have a relook. So they've set out a revised draw, and there'll be no promotion relegation between the two levels this year, which, because Auckland would have finished last in the top section, so automatically would have to come down. So that would have been interesting. And we also catch up with the Otago Sparks cricket side, the women's side. They're back in training, preparing for this season. Have just announced their contracted players. So we catch up with Coach Craig Cumming for a look at how things might go this year.
Great, Craig. Thank you very much. And time now for a look at the weather.
Tonight's weather proudly brought to you by Mole Map.
Looking at the situation, the very cold southerlies should begin easing tomorrow, clearing on Thursday. Winds about the Otago coast could be near gale force tonight, though. The northern areas are the first to be rid of the rain. On the western side, Westport and Greymouth even see some sun, with partial cloud on 14 degrees. No rain in the northeast either, but very overcast for both Blenheim and Nelson on 13 and 15 degrees respectively. But the rain remains in Canterbury. Kaikoura reaches 9, Christchurch and Ashburton on 8 degrees. Looking at those southern towns, it's 8 across the board, both the southerlies and showers clearing as the day progresses for all, the Catlins, Balclutha, Lumsden and Gore. Travelling westwards to the Central Lakes, Chano's much like those southern towns, the weather clearing and 8 degrees. Gusty southeasterlies persist in the other 3 centres though, becoming fine, Wanaka, Queenstown and Alexandra each reaching 9 degrees. Looking at what's in store for the northern towns now, inland the southeasterlies blow through Twizel and Omanama too before becoming fine on 9 degrees, and on the coast strong southerlies carry showers to Timaru and Oamaru on 9. In Dunedin, rain tonight with strong to near gale southerlies and a low of 6. Tomorrow, early rain patches break to showers amidst very cold, strong southerly winds, a high of 8 but with a strong wind chill factor and an overnight low of 5. Any remaining showers should clear early Thursday, but skies will remain mostly cloudy, a high of 9 and an overnight low of 4. And in Invercargill, showers tonight with strong cold southerlies and an overnight low of 5 degrees. Those showers clear during the day tomorrow as the gusty southwesterlies decrease, a high of 8 and a low of 5 degrees. And finally, it should be fine on Thursday with sunny periods and some cloud and moderate southwesterly winds. Still rather cold, a high of 11 and a low of 2 degrees. And that's the news this Tuesday. For the latest news from the southern region, head online to odt.co.nz and you can follow Channel 39 on Facebook and YouTube. Like and subscribe to be notified of that southern news as it happens. Nō reira, kia pai te pō, ka kite anō.
This bulletin proudly brought to you in association with Alex Campbell's Menswear.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.